How dull was that? I mean, you could have just fallen asleep at the start, woke up at the end, and you would have missed absolutely nothing. Well, that would have been the case for the last time Manchester City played Arsenal at the Emirates. And it would also have been the case the last time Manchester City played Arsenal at the Etihad. But not today. Janusz, Michallik, Mark Donaldson, Manchester City 2, Arsenal 2. A game of two halves. Yes, it was. A late equaliser, very late from John Stones. That's one of many headlines today, Janusz. What's the biggest headline from this game?
The biggest one, I think that I would say overall watching this game is that the message from Arsenal is clear, Mark. We are getting closer and closer, and perhaps this is the year. And this statement would have been better, I suppose, on my part anyway, if Arsenal saw that through, because they fully deserved it. In the first half, after Haaland scored early, my initial thought was, oh my goodness, this is going to be 3 or 4. But Arsenal didn't fold, and in fact, they got better and better and better, and obviously scored and went ahead, and then all hell broke loose, I suppose, just before the final whistle in the first half with that red card. So, but look, it was exceptional from Arsenal, I think, going away without their best player, Martin Odegaard, which they've struggled. You're talking about Arsenal, who in the span of 1 week had to play 3 away games, and not just any games, but against Spurs, against Atalanta, and here against Manchester City. And I thought they were superb and value for sure for a point. And I'd make an argument that they should have gotten all 3.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of arguments that went on during the game. I didn't think it was well handled at all by Michael Oliver. We will get to that and the key incidents in this one. Just before we started this, I saw Mikel Arteta at full time after he'd shaken hands with Pep Guardiola, and his face, it was like he'd lost a family pet. He just thought, I've come that close. That's how close it was. And for the equalising goal to be scored the way it was, I don't know if it compounds the misery, because in a way, and we'll get to the individual incidents, especially the second yellow that led to a red, in a way, that basically meant Arsenal going into their shell in the second half, with Ben White coming on for Saka and basically saying, hey, this is 2 banks of 5 in essence, or a bank of 5 and a bank of 4, and break us down. And I think it was 20 minutes into the second half, City in that spell had 93% of possession. So there's a lot to get to. Let's start at the beginning. And when Erling Haaland scored the goal, you kind of thought, yeah, there's something a little bit different in this one, because it started inside 4 seconds with a bit of a tussle between Havertz on Rodri, and then Haaland had a go as well. Did that set the tone, the early kind of set twos in this match?
I think it did, and that's the way it's supposed to be when 2 top teams they're in the last 2 seasons have been so close, right? 5 points and 2 points, and as I've mentioned, they seem to be getting closer and closer. You knew it was going to be a very big game, because I think it's almost that feel. It is the feel that Arsenal have to prove it. They have to do it. They have to get the job done. Being close is one thing, but getting one over Manchester City is not all that easy. Remember, not long ago, Liverpool were in the same position where they're so close that season, right? 98, 97 points. And you say, what else can you do? When Liverpool finally have done it, it has that feel that Arsenal is on the same path. Not to say that Liverpool is out of it, because they're having a superb start to their season as well. So, yeah, I mean, there was going to be a message, and that to me was nothing. But obviously, that should have been a bit of a warning that this game is going to be very, very tough to handle for Michael Oliver. And you have to say that at the end of the day, job's not easy, but he was all over the shop. And not just him, obviously. I mean, it's all referees and VAR and everybody involved, because they're all in communication.
It wasn't an easy game to handle for the officials, but I thought he lost control. And by doing what he did, and no yellow card, whether or not you think it should have been or shouldn't have been for Havertz and then for Haaland inside the first 4 seconds and inside the first 4 minutes, he set a bar. Okay, this is what it's going to be. You're going to be allowed a little bit of rough and tumble today. Let's get to the opening goal, Erling Haaland. And in general, 100 goals in 105 games for Manchester City. That's up there with Ronaldo. That's them tied, how quickly they have reached 100 goals for the respective clubs. Is he unstoppable, Erling Haaland?
Well, for the most part, he is, right. He's proven how quickly he's adapted to the league. He's scoring left and right. Again, 10 goals on the season already, and we're just at the start. Obviously, the sort of player that I don't think he needs to prove anything to anybody anymore. And even that first goal, I mean, the calmness, the way he put that away, obviously. Gabriel helped him a little bit in that one because he kept him on side, but he's sensational. I mean, there's zero doubt in terms of, that he's one of the best goal scorer right now, and he most likely is going to be one of the best goal scorer in the history of the game. There's going to be an argument, is he one of the best players in the world? History will show that, and I think that's not for today for us to decide.
No, of course not. And by the way, his goal meant Arsenal went behind in the Premier League for the first time away from home in this calendar year, which is quite a statement. It's quite a stat, and it also shows you just how good they have been on their travels in 2024. I thought Man City started very well. Could have gone 2-0 up, couldn't they, when Gundogan hit the post after the foul following the Savinho challenged by Gabriel. Raya not going to get there, and that's how close City were to going 2-0 up.
Yeah, they were, but they didn't go up in the second half, as you've mentioned. I think what happened, we expected that. I don't necessarily think that they had too many great chances. Couple shots from distance from Guardiola. I think if you look at that chance, the header from Haaland that was followed up, I think Bernardo Silva, right? Follow that up. But I mean, Raya's been spectacular. Even in the end there, Jakub Kiwior helped him, right? Stopping that shot from Kovacic with his chest before, obviously, John Stones put that away. It looked desperate, but just part of me as a former player feels that Arsenal were extremely well organized. And the desperation was that, they were men down, and City can do what they did to Arsenal against opponents that have all 11 players on the pitch. We've seen that. So think about playing a man down away from home, and Arsenal a bank of 6 really for the most part. Mm-hmm. And they looked organized. They looked fine, and I thought they were going to survive that.
Okay, to the Arsenal equaliser. I'm going to do this chronologically. So Rodri's already taken a couple of knocks. The first one from Havertz, and then it kind of looked like he went over on his ankle following another little tussle. So he's gone off, but not before Arsenal get a foul. Right at the edge of the centre circle, Thomas Partey is brought down. The foul is awarded. So before the free kick can be taken, the change is made, and Rodri is replaced by Kovacic. Now, the free kick is eventually taken, and there was some suggestion of not taking it from the right place. I watched it back. I got the 2 stills. There was another player down at the time, and it looked like the foul was for that player. It wasn't. So there was nothing wrong with where the ball was placed.
I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if that's the case. Sorry,
maximum 2.5. I've got the stills because I knew we'd be speaking about this. It's within the range. It's not a case of the player who was down on the far side, who wasn't Partey. It wasn't the foul there, and then the free kick was taken where Partey was taken. It was about 2 yards further forward, right on the arc of the centre circle. So you can argue about that. Then it's taken quickly. Now, it's up to the defenders to be ready, because if you ask permission to a referee, he can give you permission to take the free kick quickly. Now, whether or not the whistle went, whether or not play was allowed and officially restart, then on it went. Gabriel Martinelli had the ball, cut it back for Calafiori, and it's a brilliant finish, but Kyle Walker's not happy. What did you make of all that?
Well, I mean, look, we're doing this right after the game, right? So I'd like to hear what it was, because there's suggestions there that Michael Oliver has called Kyle Walker. I don't know. It's very difficult to say. 2 yards or 3 yards, Mark, how many times you see referees? I see over and over in every league. Sometimes it's, 10 centimeters and they bring it back, right? I mean, you have to be ready. There doesn't always have to be a whistle. All I know that there was a beautiful goal by Calafiori, especially from that position with a left foot. It's quite, defies the physics really, because from, when you're shooting with the left foot to that side, from the left hand, is just incredible. So fair play to him, but that one is difficult. I understood that maybe it was the foul on the far side, that it was 7-8 yards away from where it was.
That one, no.
Well, we don't know yet, right? We're going to wait, because I mean, I don't want to be definitive here, because There's so much that we don't know. We don't know. And
There was a player who went down on the first side. There was no foul that took place. There were two Arsenal players down. Partey was the one fouled.
So let's put it this way. For all we know, right after the whistle, because again, we're going to get to the red card, yellow card. We don't know, and the referees don't know. So I don't want to be definitive and know what the decision was. There's a massive question mark because Kyle Walker is not walking towards Michael Oliver as a right back. I can tell you as a fullback, knowing that there's a player. So something happened there, and that's why there's a question mark. And that's why we talk about control of the game and Michael Oliver, and we go on and on and on, and everybody else. That aside, it's a wonderful goal from Riccardo Calafiori. Absolutely outstanding because whatever it is, they took advantage. They took the free kick quickly. Manchester City was not ready for it. And regardless if there's a decision or not to be made, the play went on and they scored a goal. And that's the end of it.
38th minute, corner comes in. Gabriel's been marked by Doku. I mean, who in the right mind thinks Doku's the best option for probably the best header of the ball for Arsenal? And to be honest, he should score, but he doesn't. But it's a sign of things to come because a few minutes later, this time Doku is not marking the man who would score, Gabriel. And it's Kyle Walker who, in the end, is closest to him, but doesn't get there. And Arsenal go 2-1 up. He's a big threat from set plays. But City's defending in both of these instances wasn't good, was it?
Yeah, that's down to individuals. I'm sure Manchester City have been talking about that. You know, you're looking at Arsenal and their set piece masters, in particular corner kicks. That's for sure. You know, if you look at Gabriel, that's back-to-back goals, right, from a corner. So everybody was fully aware of that. And in particular, if you look at Kyle Walker, that has the strength, has the ability to deal with that. Yeah, Pep Guardiola is not going to be happy about that. But you know, I mean, if you look at the power that Gabriel used just to get himself going, to lose Kyle Walker, and then that's sort of a thumping header from close or not. I mean, it's a question. It's always a question who wants it more, and it's easy for us to say. And it goes on both sides: defending a set piece or scoring the set piece, a man for man or not, right? Or zone. There are players that will do absolutely everything to get to that ball, and that's what Gabriel is perhaps the best in the world in that.
It's a brilliant header. It really is, and it put Arsenal ahead ultimately at half-time, but there was still plenty of drama. Now, this is where I'm just going to say, Janusz, what did you think? And you, I believe, are going to go off on Michael Oliver, but I don't want to preempt that too much. I want to set the table first. So he's already on a yellow card, Leandro Trossard, and he jumps into Bernardo Silva. And it's a foul. There's no one's questioning that. And then just a split second after the free kick is awarded, he's kicked the ball away. So initially, we're not paying attention to that. We're paying attention to him being called over to the referee to be given a second yellow. And it certainly appeared very harsh. Now, both the commentators on Sky in the UK and NBC over here are able to hear the VAR conversation. And the VAR conversation at that time was to do with, and I quote, it was a reckless challenge. Now, reckless challenge is a yellow card. There was no mention in the commentary that the fact that it was given for delaying the restart, which ultimately is what it has been given for, because the PGMOL and the Premier League Match Centre put out a tweet saying that it was for kicking the ball away. Now they've gone back and say, no, it was actually for the foul. So make sense of all this, please.
Look, I mean, when you're watching this, and again, being live here, I don't know about you, and I don't say that lightly because, I want to be very respectful here and continue to be. But I'll tell you as a fan, as I was watching this, and everything was developing, and now they're backtracking again, right? It almost felt like a conspiracy to me, as if they were as if they were reading Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, and say, "Hey guys, there's an outrage." I take the first one, the first decision. Obviously, him being on a yellow, but I don't, I don't take that he should have known better, because to me that's just a foul. Nothing more. It's not a second yellow card by any means. The nonsense afterwards is even worse, that he kicks that ball away, because if that's the case, if there is no foul initially, I mean, between the whistle being blown and him continuing to play, right? Because he thinks play is on, and there's a player right next to him. What was that? Half a second, a second. So he just continues to play, and he's not kicking the ball away. So I mean, whatever this is going to be, it feels as if all these players or these referees and maybe even VAR, everybody involved with their earpieces in the head, were just trying to scramble to make this right, as if they always felt that they made the wrong decision to begin with.
Here's the tweet at PL Match Center. It was sent about an hour ago, as far as we're talking live right now. The referee issues a second yellow card to Leandro Trossard for delaying the restart. Now, if they now come out and say, wait a minute, it wasn't for that. Because, look, if they're saying that and he kicked it away, Declan Rice has done it, then there's a little bit of consistency
He didn't
there.
kick anything away, Mark.
And that's the problem.
He finished the play. He went on, the ball popped up, and he's going after the play. There is no whistle there for a foul, right? That's what they're saying, that the whistle wasn't for a foul. He just continues to play because the play and the ball is live, and he wants to win that ball and go on with it. So that's absolute nonsense. It cannot be true.
Okay, let me speak and continue about the inconsistency in relation to what you've just said. Earlier than that, Jeremy Doku kicks the ball away. There's video footage of it all over the internet, and a lot of them are Arsenal fans saying, hold on here, he didn't get anything. He wasn't cautioned, but wait a minute. The PG, MOL and the Premier League are saying now he's kicked the ball away. This is Leandro Trossard. So how can one delay of restart not be a yellow card and the other one be a yellow card? Can you explain that?
It's even worse than that, because now, and by looking at it, making some assumptions here, they're saying that Doku was actually pointing and kicking the ball because the free kick should have be taken 10 yards back, right? And remember, we were just talking about the other instance where you said, well, it's just 2 yards, so it's not so bad. So the problem is that there is an inconsistency, because in that, if in Michael Oliver's head, he said, yeah, you know what? Doku was right. That free kick should have been taken from a different place. I'm not going to book him for that because that is not kicking the ball away. Then how do you explain the other situation? And that just goes to show the inconsistency in refereeing. Once you start making mistakes, it piles on. And I just think that we want all the decisions to be called the same way. Now, that's not always possible. But the difference between so many decisions in this game shouldn't be this big.
The irony, Janusz, is that so often you, me, and everyone else on ESPN FC, we're talking about VAR, especially in the Premier League. This is all on Michael Oliver today and his fourth official and his two assistants. VAR can't get involved for a second yellow card, so they've had nothing to do with this. The Jeremy Doku kicking the ball away or not kicking the ball away, the Leandro Trossard second yellow card. I mean, this is one, we're just speaking straight after the game, but this is one that I don't see how it can shade a good light on Michael Oliver's performance today. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, and I'm not, not that I want to make excuses or I don't, but this is, in case of Michael Oliver, it's just like players, right? A loss of confidence. Big time players sometimes start a game and it's badly, and it's difficult to shake that off. We often talk about big time players being able to deal with such situations. Most often they do, but a lot of times they don't. So if you make a bad tackle, if you make a big mistake and you concede a goal, sometimes it stays in your head. And I just have a feeling that from the beginning, and you've mentioned, the first few seconds and the collision between Havertz and Rodri and what went on, it was a massive occasion. Michael Oliver, I think for the most part in general, I think is a pretty good referee. As I've said it, it's so easy for us to talk. Massive occasion, yes. Do they have to live up to it? Absolutely. But yeah, you can have a bad game. And unfortunately today, Michael Oliver had a very bad game, and some of his decisions, decided the outcome of the game, perhaps.
12 minutes from time, or should I say 12 minutes from the end of 19 minutes, because there was more than 7 minutes added. John Stones came onto the field to play. And it was one-way traffic in the second half. It was attack against defence, and it was attack that couldn't find any space against a really well-organised defence. And in the end, John Stones was in the right place at the right time, got enough on it, bobbled, bounced, ended up in the back of the net. If we look at it and see Manchester City 2, Arsenal 2, is that a fair result, a point apiece? Did both sides deserve a point, or does it not really tell anywhere near like?
Well, look, I mean, I don't want to take away the fact that the champions found a way somehow, right, and put it away. I mean, they certainly worked hard, and as we've said, it's not an easy thing. Arsenal were so good defensively, so well organized, and a lot of credit's got to go for that. And I'm sure Pep is going to give it, not just because Mikel Arteta is his friend, because Arsenal were absolutely outstanding. Even though I don't even know if they had a shot in the second half at all, right? They didn't even attempt to get out of their own half because they knew it was going to be difficult. As I've said, I think they had the right to feel spent after those three massive matches within a week, obviously playing men down. So City, you got to give credit to City that somehow they found a way. Good decisions, bad decisions, whatever you think of that. But I think, if you Arsenal, you look at that, and first and foremost, you're proud, extremely proud of this performance. Everything, a lot of things went against them, and I'm not even talking decisions, but the fact that Haaland so early scored that goal, as you've mentioned, there was a post from Gundogan. It felt to me that this is going to be one of those where City are going to go on and win by 3 or 4 goals. They didn't. Arsenal equalized. Not only that, they outplayed Manchester City on their own patch for the rest of the half, and had they been 11 against 11, I wonder what that game would have looked like. So I think if you Arsenal, you feel that this was a massive opportunity to get a win at the Etihad, get the 3 points, and perhaps they should have, because my gut tells me they deserved it. Well, not just my gut, my eyes.
Well, they get a point, which they probably might have taken before kickoff, but just in the circumstances that happened and with the City late goal, it is what it is. And ultimately, champions find a way, even when they're not at their best. We didn't even get on to Kevin De Bruyne and Martin Odegaard, probably two of the best players on the respective sides. They weren't available, so maybe that says even more about Arsenal going to the Etihad and not losing and coming within seconds of getting all 3 points. What a game. Plenty to talk about, and the fallout for this one is going to continue all week. ESPN FC to keep up to date with everything that's gone on as a result of Manchester City 2, Arsenal 2. Bye for now.